Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Em and this is going to be my June TBR. Let me tell you, I have been looking forward to June since the beginning of May, basically. I'm just ready. I just wanted to skip May and get straight to June for multiple reasons. A, it means school is almost out and I cannot wait to get rid of early mornings, no more making lunches, and just let go of the hustle and bustle of the school year. I'm so excited for summer. 2, June is Clear Your Shit month. Clear Your Shit is a readathon that is hosted every year by Mouse Reads, I think. I'll link her Instagram down below and I will link the Clear Your Shit website if you want to check it out. But it's a readathon where the goal is to read down your physical TBR. The main readathon happens in November and December, but in June there is a mini readathon and I need the help focusing on my TBR so badly. If you didn't see my most recent vlog, it's called the TBR Diaries, and I realized that I have brought home way more books this year so far than I have managed to read off of my shelf. I have been reading so many library books and audiobooks from subscriptions like emjaereads or Libro FM, and I just need to focus on what I already have. Clear Your Shit could not come at a more perfect time, and I am so pumped for it. Also in May, I got a little out of control and I gave myself too many big reading projects to do, which I ended up really liking all of them and I got a lot out of all of them, but it wasn't something that I had initially put on my May TBR, so I ended up putting a lot of extra reading onto my schedule, and so I fell behind, which I don't love. When that happens, it actually stresses me out a lot. All that to say, I'm really excited for the reading that I will be having in June, hopefully. I mean, fingers crossed that it lives up to my expectations. But I will be on a book buying ban in June, with the exception of Aardvark Book Club, since that's a monthly subscription. I will let myself get my Aardvark Book Club book, but other than that, I cannot buy any books in June. And I'm also going to be limiting my library holds. I'm not doing a library ban because I think in this day and age, that's not the support my library needs from me. My library needs me to continue to use it. But I am going to try to drastically cut down on how many books I'm checking out from the library. Though I think I have 2 books on this TBR that I will have to get from my library because I do not own them physically. And I'm not going to go buy them because book buying ban. And they fulfill very specific reading prompts that I have, like for book clubs, reading challenges, that sort of thing. So anyways, that's quite a bit of preamble. So let's just kind of dive on in to what I'm going to be reading. So we'll start off with my year of Butler and Gaskell. I am doing a self-appointed reading challenge where I am alternating every month reading a book by either Octavia E. Butler or Elizabeth Gaskell. June is going to be an Elizabeth Gaskell month, and I am going to be reading Wives and, oops, that has my sticky note on it still. I'm going to be reading Wives and Daughters, which is the book that she was writing when she died. I read her debut last month, and I'm really excited to read her final work this coming month. It is described as the most underrated novel in English, so we'll see. I'm hoping that this is going to take a totally different turn than the other 2 books by her that I've read, which followed very similar plot points and character archetypes. So I'm interested to see if she's going to end up being one of those authors that can only write a certain type of story or if she branches out at all. But I do love how like delightfully floppy this Penguin Classics edition is. That's going to be so much fun to read. So that's the first book. And then for the Betty Page's Challenge Your Shelf Reading Challenge, there were quite a few options, not a ton that I was super excited about though. So I decided out of the options that I had that I'm going to reread The Giver by Lois Lowry, which I haven't read probably since I was in middle school. And I think it might be interesting to revisit it as an adult. This is dystopian middle grade, but I think published before middle grade was an official age category, and I don't think I really need to explain this one too much. I think if you grew up in the US and you went to public school, you probably have read this at some point or other, and it has a very ambiguous ending from what I remember, and I don't even remember how I felt about it as a kid, so I'm going to be going into it with pretty fresh eyes, I think. So I'm excited to reread this childhood classic. Let's do the buzzword books next. So for the buzzword reading challenge, the prompt is to read a book with memory words in the title. And I don't own any books with memory words in the titles, so I'm kind of torn. I have a couple of options. I could read The Memory Police. I feel like this has picked up on popularity again, and it's going around a lot. I feel like a lot of booktubers are reading it. So I could read this. That might be interesting just to see what I think of it after listening to a lot of other people review it. I also was thinking about reading Forget Me Not. This is a novel, a middle grade novel in verse about a girl who has Tourette's, which I know hardly anything about. So that could be a good time. I've also not a good time, but that could be a good read. I've had Forget Me Not on my radar for probably like 6 or 7 years. I feel like it's one of the first books I heard about when I got on Bookstagram, and really nice, really satisfying, I think, to just kind of check it off the list of like, oh yeah, I finally read that. So those are the two I'm kind of flip-flopping around, but again, it can be forgotten, remember, memory, know, lose. I think dream counts as a memory word. So I have a lot of options. If you haven't any recommendations, feel free to leave them in the comments. I am pretty open to suggestions at the moment. And then the buzzword cover prompt is to read a book with celestial things on the cover. And I have a lot of books with moons on the cover, I realized, but I decided I think I'm going to give Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett another try. This has a little moon on the cover. This is, I think, science fantasy, or it might just be fantasy, but I've heard this one get really great reviews, and I've read the first chapter before, and then I soft DNF'd it because I wasn't in the right mood to go into a whole new fantasy world. But I have The Tainted Cup on my shelf as well, and I feel like I should read the one I got first before I jump into The Tainted Cup. Maybe that logic doesn't make any sense, but that's what I'm operating under. I don't have to read anything for the science fiction and fantasy book club that I'm in. The book that we're reading this month is called Asunder by Kirsten Hall, and I read it in May for my Nebula project. I'll link that down below if you want to see that. But so it's nice that I've already checked that off the list and I can take something off of my required reading stack, because I have not been good about getting to those books. I also want to read A Far Better Thing by H.G. Perry. This is an ARC that the publisher sent me, and it comes out in June. This is a fantasy, I think a standalone fantasy novel that is a reimagining of A Tale of Two Cities, which is one of my favorite classics. And I'm so excited to read this, and now that it's finally like publication month, I am ready to dive in. And I haven't read a full H.G. Perry yet. I have DNF'd a book by her, but it was Declaration for the Rights of Magicians, which I think was just too politically heavy. I've read a little bit of this so far, and I really liked what I read, so I have high hopes that my love for Sydney Carton will see me through to the end. Now, the prompts for Clear Your Shit for June are out. I'm not going to tell you my whole TBR for June because I am going to be weekly vlogging for Clear Your Shit, but I will tell you the first 3 books that I'm going to be reading, hopefully that first weekly vlog, but who knows? We'll see how it goes. Prompt number 1 is to read your most recently acquired book, and that will be, well, it'll be down between 2. So it's currently May 26th. Tomorrow is a Tuesday, which is pub day, and I believe Django Wexler's new book comes out tomorrow, and if I'm right, this will be my most recently acquired book. So this will be the one that I read. If I'm wrong or I'm off by like a week, then the most recently acquired book I have is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is like one of my most highly anticipated books of the year. I absolutely adore the One Dark Window duology. I thought it was so good. I really liked book 1, and then I loved book 2. That's a fantasy world where the magic is based on tarot cards, and it's just so good. And then I don't even know what this one is about. I don't really care. I just know it's Rachel Gillig's next thing, and I'm so excited. I love this cover. I love her writing, and I can't wait to see what happens in this one. But like I said, I know nothing about it, and I don't need to know anything about it. I don't need to know nothing about it. What am I? And then prompt number 2 is a book that someone else recommended to you or was gifted to you. And the most recent book that was gifted to me is that my husband gave me Norm Porn, Queer Viewers and the TV That Soothes Us by Karen Tongson for Mother's Day. I asked for it. It was on my bookshop.org wish list for a long time. And this is just about network television and how they were designed to appeal to liberal heterosexual white Americans, but how these shows also attracted queer viewers. And I'm really excited for this because it's going to talk about shows like Parenthood, Gilmore Girls, This Is Us, and I love a pop culture nerdy deep dive, and I've listened to this author talk and I'm so excited. This is going to be, like I said, super nerdy. It might take me longer than 1 week to read. It might be like I read it slowly throughout the month kind of book, but I'm really excited to get into this. And then the third prompt is a book you or someone else might consider cozy or comforting. And for this prompt, I think I'm going to be picking up Saint Death's Herald by C.S.E. Cooney. This is book 2 in the Saint Death trilogy. I read Saint Death's Daughter 2 years ago when it came out, and I loved it. It was on my top books of the year list. I think C.S.E. Cooney's writing is just absolutely adorable. The premise for this series is, what if there was a necromancer who is actually allergic to pain and to death? And the other way I describe it is it's like if Gideon the Ninth liked pink glitter and rainbows. Like that's kind of the vibe. And I don't really remember what happened in book 1, but that's okay. I think book 2 will be just as wonderful, even if I don't necessarily remember anything that happened. But I'm really excited to be back with Lainey and all these characters and to see what happens for her in this world. All right, so with those, that's the so far TBR. There are 6 more prompts for clearursht that will be sprinkled out throughout the month. But then we also need to pick our TBR jar books. I picked 2 for my TBR jar. I did fill this up at the beginning of May with my recently acquired books, but I have not updated it with the books I brought home this month, but that's okay. So let's get a green one because I know that's a new color, so that means I'll read something that I brought home more recently. Oh, good. Okay, that's actually kind of perfect. Where is it? So the first book I pulled is Don't Sleep with the Dead by Nevo, and this is perfect because this is a standalone companion novel to The Chosen and the Beautiful, and I just read The Chosen and the Beautiful. I literally finished it 2 days ago, which is Nevo's Great Gatsby retelling. I read that for my science fiction and fantasy book club, and I wanted to read it before I read this because I know you can read this as a standalone, but I'm a completionist at heart, and so I needed to read The Chosen and the Beautiful, and now I'm ready for this one, so that is perfect timing. All right, and then book number 2, who knows? How about purple? Oh, okay, well, that's a choice. Book 2 is The Maleficent 7 by Cameron Johnston. I got this initially, why did I get this? I think I heard the premise and it sounded good, and at the time I was really into Angry Robot books. I've since kind of backed off from that publisher, not because I think they're like problematic or anything, but because I've noticed that I have a real hit or miss track record with Angry Robot books, and it leans heavily on the miss, which is really disappointing because I think a lot of the novels they publish have really great ideas and they sound really good, but the execution tends to lack a little bit for me. And since then I've heard that this has a pretty brutal dog death scene in it, so I'm a little nervous. I'm trepidatious. I'm wondering if this may end up being a DNF, but I did want to try it before I just unhauled it. So I guess this will be good motivation to finally pick it up and figure out if it's a book that I'm going to like or if it's a book that I am going to unhaul. So that was it's kind of a range of emotions in those 2 books. So anyways, well, that is going to be my official TBR for June. I am not taking on any big reading projects this month. The focus, like I said, is really going to be to read my TBR and to highlight my TBR and things that I already have on my shelves, and definitely don't buy any more books. I don't need them. And I'm hoping to do, like I said, weekly vlogs for clearursht. I also want to do another episode of book series bingo, focusing on sequels that I already own, and maybe like one other mini vlog project, but I'm trying to keep them super simple and easygoing and not overwhelm myself like I did in May, because that's not the life I want for myself. But anyways, if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching and spending your precious time with me. If you have already thought about your TBR and you want to tell me what you're reading in June or what you're hoping to get to, I would love to hear it. Let me know if you are also going to participate in clearursht. It's a really great time. I highly recommend it if you haven't participated before. And these mini readathons that are done in June are a really nice bite-sized way to jump in to the readathon. Like I said, I'll link the creators' YouTube and then the actual website down below, so you can go check it out if you want more information. And if you want to leave an emoji to let me know you made it to the end of this video. You know, I really hate moths, so I don't want to say leave the moth emoji, but it's literally the only thing I can think of now that I've thought of it. So I guess leave a moth emoji or a butterfly emoji. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye!